Hey friends, it's Lauren Taylor. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. It's Fandom Friday and also a new release from Kindred Stamps. I have this adorable set called Mischief Maker with 3 different characters from the superhero inspired TV show. There's also 4 different sentiments, and I'm going to show you the coloring of the 3 characters today. I'm only going to use the 2 people characters to make my card in today's video, but I will show you a couple more card inspiration at the end where I used my god. I'm trying so hard not to use the names right. This Norse god in another card, and then I use the alligator in another card. So I'll show you some inspiration for those as well, but I'm just going to have the coloring and 1 card today. As always, if coloring is not your favorite thing to watch, I completely understand, and you can use the chapters in my video to be able to go to the next part. But while I'm coloring, I'll talk a little bit about the set, what I'm doing, and then, just do a little catch-up session like my little color and chat. So for his hair, I'm using red grays, and he has kind of black hair, but I wanted a more warm red hue to it. So I used RG7 and RG6 for his hair. I'm doing my very best to stay within the lines, but I am going to have a little bit of a leak right here. My pen just totally leaked on me. Not a big deal. You've seen it here before. I'm usually able to recover pretty well. So I just dabbed it up before it spread more into the paper and just kept going. No big deal. I will use a white gel pen in a little bit to just retrace the outline around the hair. And then when you get into his kind of like crown piece, the colors that I use will blend in just fine. So you'll see here I'm going to use YOs. So I'm using 2.7 as the darker color, and then 2.6, or no, sorry, 2.5 as the mid-tone. And I used 3 on this one because I really wanted to create that shiny gold look. So I'm putting in heavy shadows, again with the darker color, and then more of a mid-tone, and then I'll bring in 1 more YO. I believe it's 2.3, but we'll see when we get there. Yes, 2.3 to just give it a little bit more of a highlight and make it have that golden glow color. For the skin tones, I'm going to start with OR 2.2, and I'm going to trace the ears. I trace the edge of the face, especially where it kind of like would have shadow from the crown. I did the nose and the cheeks and the chin, and then I'm bringing OR 1.1 to color in the rest of his face. So trying to pick up that color and blending between the two to really bring out that shadow and create the rest of the color on his face. I did another like color of this whole face with OR 2.0 just to give it a little bit more pinky color. And then I'm going to repeat all of those colors again for his hands. I did use the darkest color on his neck. Didn't really feel the need to go in with other shades there. He is wearing a white shirt as the image I'm looking at, so I just use a cool gray marker to add a little bit of shadow, and then his tie and vest are going to be green, so I'm using G0.4 and G0.1. Oh, the cool gray I use, I believe, was cool gray 0. Again, just to create a little bit of shadow, and then of course he has to have something green on, so green vest and tie. The suit, I'm going to go with cool gray, so I'm using CG7 and CG5, and then I'll bring in some browns for his shoes. So I was really excited to get this set. I actually have only watched the first season of this particular superhero show. I know, really sad because I heard the second season's really good. It's just I haven't had it on my list to watch yet. But actually, I've been feeling very inspired by the stamp set to watch it. But I also am a very particular person that I will probably rewatch season 1 first, and then I'll start season 2. So give me a month and hopefully I will have watched it by then. So for the brown shoes, I'm bringing O7.8 and O7.2. I really wanted them to be a cooler brown color just to match with the rest of his outfit. So here you can see I'm bringing in the gel pen and I'm just going to create a white line where I'm going to trim around it. I don't really need to color the whole spot, just wanting to add some white highlight anywhere where I went out of the, I guess not highlight, white gel pen, anywhere where I went out of the lines. I tend to go out of the lines on these small images, so the white gel pen is my best friend for coloring. For the alligator, I'm going to bring in the same three colors for his headpiece because it's supposed to be very similar, a variant of the other one. So YO 2.7, 2.5, and 2.3. And I'm going to bring in some other types of greens to color in the alligator. I didn't want to use that same bright green that I used for the Norse gods vest and tie. So I'm going to bring in YG's more yellowy greens. So YG 8.7 and use that to create a shadow. So I'm going to start with the like jawline, move into anywhere where I think there would be shadow on this little critter here. So while I'm coloring him in, I'm, so excited about these Fandom Friday videos and the positivity that I've been getting on them. I know sometimes they happen over the weekend, but, such is life. I am traveling one more time this month, so hopefully in December you'll start seeing a little bit more consistency. It's just been a really busy few months. Again, I know I talk about work a lot, just getting used to the new job and helping put out fires and training and all that stuff. It's going to be hopefully, I wouldn't say slowing down in after the new year, but I think it will be much more like scheduled, and I'll have a better idea of what's coming up instead of a bunch to do all at one time. So that will help a lot when it comes to work-life balance and my craft work-life balance. So after the 8.7, 8.5, 8.5 was my mid-tone. I'm bringing in 8.3. I know I normally do two colors, but there was a lot to color on this alligator, so I went with three. I'm also going to use this color to be the shadow of the lighter part of my alligator. So just going to add, a little bit of color there. And then I'm bringing in a yellow, a Y2.0, but it's a very kind of limey yellow. So I thought it blended in really well. I'm also going to bring back 8.7 and 8.5 in YG to add the little, I don't know, the back pointy things of an alligator. I don't know my alligator terminology. I don't know if you watched our Spellbinders live we did this month where we talked about an alligator versus a crocodile. I know for sure this is an alligator, but yeah, I don't know the parts of my gators. I added in some red onto the inside of his mouth and again used that white gel pen to cover up where I went out of the lines. Now for my second guy here, I'm going to use some browns. He wears a very brown suit. So I use OR 3.7 and 3.4 for his pants and his jacket. I'm going to use just the lighter color 3.4 to be his tie because I want it to be the same shade, but his character on the show, it has kind of a shimmer to the tie from what I looked up pictures. So I thought just using the lighter color to color it in would be fine. He has a very pale blue shirt, so I'll bring in the blue colors and then I'm going to use a different shade of brown for the belt and shoes. So for the shirt, I'm doing BB 2.2 and BB 2.0. And then I will move on to his skin tone and his hair when we're done. So anyway, back to what's going on. So work has been good. Just again, busy. Girl Scouts has been really good. I'm looking forward to cookie season, but also not looking forward to cookie season. We're going to be taking a little bit of break from badge work and do more camping skills, so a little less planning on my end. But then also it's cookie season, so it gets kind of busy. I can't believe that's already coming up. Okay, so jumping back into my coloring, I used a cool gray for his belt buckle, and then I'm going to use the same color scheme pretty much for his face. So again, using the darkest shade to color in the outside of his face where there would be shadow along his nose, mouth, chin, ears. I guess this time I use OR 2.0 first and then OR 1.1. I tend to go back and forth between those two colors of which one I like to use first, but I do almost always end up using both on all my characters. And then for his mustache and hair, he has very white mustache or white hair. So I'm using Cool Grays again, 5 as the mustache. Like I did, left a little bit of white at the end of his mustache. And then I'm using this Cool Gray 5 to be the darkest shade of his hair. After that, I'll use the Cool Gray 3 to finish coloring in his mustache and be the mid-tone of his hair. And then actually I brought in Cool Gray 1. I think I did 3, 1. I don't know why I said 5. 3, 1, and 0. I think I used 5 for the belt buckle. That's why I had it ready to go. So yes, 3, 1, and then 0. So that will finish coloring him off. Again, if I had anything outside the lines, I just use my white gel pen to cover that up. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut these out, and then let's jump into making a card today. So I'm going to be using the Card Basics die. I'm also going to use the plain rectangle from the door portal die just to give me a starting point. I know in the show they have these like time portals that are like kind of fuzzy looking and they have like orange glow to them. So I thought vellum with orange paper would kind of give that effect. I'm bringing in the circuit stencil. I don't know why, I just thought it looked very much like computery time travel-y, so that's why I'm using that stencil. Again, the circuit stencil from Kindred. And I'm going to use black soot through it. So on some orange cardstock, again, the company that my suited fellow here works for. Um, the colors are very orange, very like a retro orange color. So that's why I started with that. And then I used more of that black soot around the edges of that panel. And I just didn't feel like it was enough. So I'm going to bring that stencil back again. And this time I'm going to use some stencil paste. I'm going to use Shady from Simon Hurley Lunar Paste. And I'm going to just use a palette knife. I'm going to realize here that it needs to be taped or I'm going to have a huge mess and I'm going to be sad. So I'm going to use some repositionable tape to tape that stencil in place and line it up to what I've already inked. So to do that, I'm going to place a piece of tape behind my panel but leave quite a bit showing. I'm going to remember which way the stencil goes and then I'll stick those together. So once the stencil is stuck to that piece of tape, I can flip it over and put tape along the other side as well. So now the panel is taped onto the back of the stencil, which keeps it a little more secure and allows me to add the stencil paste, and with hopes that the stencil won't move. I have a large scraper, so once I get enough paste onto the stencil, I just use the scraper to scrape it down. Once I get to the point where most of the paste is on the scraper, I'll go ahead and use that palette knife to pick it up, put it back onto the stencil, and continue on. And I'll keep doing that a few times until I have enough coverage. Then I use the same technique to put the paste back into the container because I don't like to waste my stencil paste. I love a good stencil reveal, so let's see how it turned out. And I love that so much more, I think, using the stencil paste because it has this kind of like shimmer to it. It's going to add that shine that I love to have on cards without, a ton of glitter or anything. So I'll go ahead and peel off that tape. I'm going to set it aside to dry after I drop it a few times and get paste all over my fingers. So I will go wash off my stencils and my supplies and my hands and clean off my desk. So moving on to creating my doors, I've decided here that I want my card to light up. So I die cut some orange cardstock with that same die shape. And I'm going to use my I use this mostly for foiling, but I'm going to use my trimmer because it has a paper blade as well. And I never use it because, again, I mostly use this for foil. And I'm just going to create a frame. I wasn't really sure how to do this, so I just thought I'd be, easy on myself by using the little slots here to cut a frame. Now, there's no real measurement. They're probably about 1/8 of an inch wide all the way around, but I did not measure. I just eyeballed it and created an orange frame. And I wanted it to be, thick enough that I could hide some double-sided adhesive foam behind it, but also thin enough that it didn't look too bad when I glued the vellum to these pieces. Because I'm going to glue the vellum on the front, which I don't like to do normally. You will see some of my glue. I definitely need some vellum. I know they make glue for vellum. I don't know who sells it or if there's like a really good glue that isn't necessarily specific for vellum but works well with vellum. If you have any suggestions, would you let me know in the comments? I just added adhesive and then used my finger to try to like spread it out so that way it wouldn't be this like huge white clumpy line. And I did that for both. Now I did add the extra thick double-sided foam adhesive to the back and I didn't show that because that was a mistake. So don't mind that there's foam on there right now. But I want to create these doors with my characters in front of it and I want to use one of my easy lights to make them kind of glow and light up. So I'm going to just test it out and I'm like, yes, this is what I want. So let's figure out where I need to punch the holes through my background to put those LED lights through. So I'm going to grab just a pokey tool. I'm going to use the grid on my glass board to just help me figure out where these like door portals are going to approximately go. And I want to hide the LED behind my character, so I'm going to go a little bit lower. And I'm just poking a hole through my background. Nothing super specific here, just placing one. Now there are 3 LEDs on an easy light and I just don't have the heart to cut one off even though I know Pear Blossom Press says you can easily just cut one off. I just struggle with that. So I thought I'd put the 3rd LED kind of behind where I knew I was going to place a sentiment. So I have some clear tape and I'm just going to pop the LEDs so they point through the hole. Now, while the top one is fine, I really wish I would have pushed the LED through the hole a little more than just having it kind of nestled in the hole. I don't think my LEDs are as bright and fill up the vellum as much as I anticipated it should because I'm just setting the LED into the hole. And so that way it like faces out, right? You'll see it light up right here. But I feel like if I would have pushed the LED completely through, it wouldn't have been seen because again, I was going to glue my characters to the front, but I just don't think it's going to be bright enough, which I'm kind of bummed about. So if you make this card again, or if you make this card inspired by mine, push the LEDs through and then send me a picture so I can see what it looks like. So that's when I moved all of my World's Best foam tape to the back of this panel because that's where I really needed it to go, not on the back of my door portal thingies, because I needed that thickness for my battery pack. That's what the World's Best foam tape is perfect for. Any type of any interactive card, but it's especially perfect for the thickness of those battery packs. I did use some double-sided adhesive just to keep that battery pack in place behind the front panel, but I added lots of foam. I used some tape to hold those wires in place of my easy light. I pulled off all the release paper. I added more double-sided adhesive to the back side of my battery pack this time and pulled off that release paper as well. So once I make sure everything is going to stick to my card base, I have my A2 card base here, I'll go ahead and add that panel to my card front. I don't remember if I said this earlier, but I did originally trim this panel down with the Card Basic die from Kindred. So now my background is done. Everything's lighting up. My button is in that bottom left-hand corner and I'll put something there later. I want to add my portal doors now. So this time I'm going to use a much thinner foam. This is a 1mm foam from scrapbook.com and they are 1/8 of an inch strips. And I'm going to add this foam adhesive to all 4 sides of both of my door panels. So again, going to use that grid and remember where I placed my door panels originally when deciding where to poke the holes, and I'm going to place both of those down. So as you can see, you can kind of see my glue, which I'm a little bummed about, but it's fine. It's handmade. It's still cute. So once I get the portal on the left, I'm going to glue down my first character. And he, again, is going to be standing in front of the portal, making sure you can't see the LED. And then I'm going to repeat this same process for the right, This one I feel like you can see more of the glue, but again, I don't really mind. I still think it looks really good. And it's like coming together how I envisioned. But again, if you have any recommendations on the best glue for vellum, let me know. So now I've added glue to the back of my god here and glued him in front of his little time door portal. For my sentiment, I'm going to grab my sentiment strip dies from Kindred. I already had one in white die cut for the second size from the smallest. And I was going to die cut the smaller one, but then I thought, I'm just going to use this one. It's already die cut. It fits my sentiment. It goes across the doors, everything, it's what I wanted. So very happy to have that already die cut out of white cardstock. So I have my sentiment that says be the best variant of you, and I'm going to stamp with my Nocturne VersaFine Clear ink. So just got a clear block using my grid on my glass board to try to get my sentiment straight and centered onto this sentiment strip. Once that's done, I'll go ahead and glue that onto the card. There's already a ton of dimension because of my 2 layers of foam adhesive here, so I don't want to add any more. So I'm just going to add a liquid adhesive to the banner. I kind of skip the center where I know it's going to be in between those 2 doors, so no need to have glue there. And I'll go ahead and add that to my card. Now to indicate that there is a push button, I'm just going to grab the really tiny small star die from the Card Basics set. I die cut it out of white cardstock, and I'm going to use liquid adhesive to glue that down so that way the card receiver knows there's something a little special about that little area of my card. I went ahead and turned my lights off so you can see how it lights up. It looks so much better with the lights off, obviously. Again, I think if I would have pushed the LEDs through a little more, it would have accomplished more of what I was trying to, make. But overall, I think it turned out really good and I like the card. Here's the card I made, You're My Glorious Purpose, with my alligator variant. He looks so cute. I use water pattern paper from Kindred. And here I made the timeline TV using the TV die from Kindred. Again, trying to give it a retro feel because that's what the show has. And I stamped or I actually embossed, Have a Mischievous Birthday on that TV as well. I hand drew those lines. I used a copper marker and then a white gel pen to create that look. So here's a close-up of my card. Don't mind the glue. I still think it looks good, even though you can see the glue. Here it is lit up so you can see a bit of that glow. And then all 3 cards again of my inspiration from this release. Let me know what you like from the new Kindred Stamps release down below in the comments. And tell me which one of these cards is your favorite. Happy shopping, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!